I have a complicated relationship with pedals. This is the MXR Dynacomp, bought used in my hometown 14 years ago. It's considered a classic, along the lines of the DS1 or the TS9, though secretly I prefer the TS7.
You ain't my daddy, I'm your daddy!
I had an Arian to find out exactly what a compressor is, but the less said about that time the better. If you don't know, a compressor is exactly what it says on the tin. Flatten and raise dynamics based on a set threshold.
If your guitar signal is from here to here, loudest to softest, what a compressor does is lowers the ceiling on the loud stuff and raises the floor on the quiet stuff.
And this became the absolute staple of my board. So much so that after a year of a steady rock and studio gig my senior year of college, when I returned to a stripped-down jazz trio, my playing style had literally grown around the pedal, like a tree eating a fence. I had to unlearn a whole range of bad habits, and I learned a lot about myself as a player in the process. All that from a pedal that, when working properly, arguably shouldn't really sound like it's doing anything at all. You might think then that, on the list of pedals, it's probably near the bottom, the least fun effect to shop for. And I would agree with that. But take a look at this. This is the Chase Bliss Habit. You've probably seen it around the internet. Just look and listen, and ask yourself, who is really driving here?
An experimental delay that can reinsert things you've played up to 3 minutes ago into the delay's 3-minute memory. The flow of the signal has the memory bank running into a separate echo circuit. And the echo itself can be routed into the input or not, separated into A and B banks. Toggle switch. These modifiers also another delay to tap into with the speed and direction of the repeats, giving you another point of access to the memory, or even dual dropouts sounds, and even lower sound effects. Also gives you advanced options to change how the pedal records and loops over itself.
And your point is? Who needs you? You're a useless appendage doomed to atrophy and finally disappear.
The idea that AI and AI-influenced tech is catching up to the artist is not new. Programmable structure and rules have emerged from centuries of theory, which used to work the other way around. The natural development of the art was being watched by geniuses, who began to notice patterns and began a never-ending, always evolving record of a cultural discipline. But the possibility that a person could be completely eliminated from the equation of creation, even in the physical world, seems to creep closer every year now. Consider this. For centuries, there existed a nebulous one-to-one relationship between the art of music and the performer. The violinist's arm moved the bow in synchronization with the sound being produced. When the arm and bow stop, the sound does as well. The keys of a harpsichord or pianoforte rang a note as long as the human applied pressure to the key. A note was produced as long as the flautist's breath lasted. Again, this is a rough analogy considering techniques like pizzicato and the ancient use of cymbals and other percussion, but for the most part, the ratio of human to sound remained closely symbiotic. Starting with the very first literal effect pedal, the sustain on the piano, technology has been expanding that gap, in many cases allowing the human factor to grow as well, but mainly allowing sound production factor to leap far, far ahead. Emily Hopkins' channel is a regular example of this. Her presenting style is laid back, maybe too much, as she tends to disappear into her own demos and works, and many times she's even literally pushed to the background of her own performance in favor of the machines augmenting and filling out her input. Watching a flashy black box machine go on automatic with a basic input, it just doesn't have the same experience. It's way more interesting to listen to someone explain how they built a sound and performance from an understanding of its musicality than from patches, samples, and general dicking around.
But here's the catch. I can only use my harp and music hardware, so no plugins.
Let me try and show you how we get some of these sounds. First of all, none of them exist as a particular sound as they would on an electronic organ. There's no magic button marked trumpet or violin or drums.
Eventually, I'm gonna hit this toggle up and make it sound more like snare drum hits.
You have to build every sound. It's very smooth, very flute-like.
And I have just like a regular flute plug-in sound set up, which sounds like this. Very nice.
And that can be speeded up till we almost start hearing a plucked string.
I'm gonna use this bendy thing on the Arturia Mini Freak to give the flute some character.
We can build up any sound we can possibly imagine almost. We spend quite a lot of time trying to invent new sounds. I mean, sounds that don't exist already, sounds that can't be produced by musical instruments. That's at the speed we recorded in the studio. We can get the lower sounds we need from the rhythm by slowing down the tape. And then all we have to do is cut the notes to the right length.
You know what this is missing?
What?
Strings. And I'm gonna keep the lead line pretty simple.
It's a little bit of editorializing on Bach. I don't think he'd mind.
It's a topic I plan to revisit at some point in the future. The spirit of musicality as a whole versus just the "this sounds good" quotient. Let's look at this example of a simple interaction, and we'll derive a ratio as talked about before, measured in seconds of effort to output.
They could automate the ordering and billing systems and outsource all of the manufacturing functions.
Are you trying to tell me that the world has already been taken over by computers and we just don't know it?
It's around the year 2000. I'm at summer camp, and I'm into Stained and POD and Lifehouse. Yeah, I think I know guitar because I've been playing for 2 years. When I stumble across an activity room, and someone is in there playing over himself on an Ibanez GAX and using a boomerang looper pedal. I have never seen one of these before, but now they're all I can think about. Over years of practice and adventure, they've allowed me to find sounds just like this. This is, I hope, obviously not a rant against the march of time and technology, more of a touchstone. When I see that disconnect emerging from the ever-expanding ratio, it actually reminds me why I got into music in the first place. That joy of interpretation, that democratization of realizing music wasn't some magical alien language, but accessible, malleable, and tactile. I don't want to hit a note and hear someone else coming out of my headphones. I didn't get into this to push buttons, turn knobs, or mix sliders. As we move into the post-instrument creation space, though, I'm beginning to realize how many people actually did. Because despite what you tell yourself, anything and everything can and is being automated. And if that is the landscape of music's future,